it's review time for the Panda Placer. So this is I wouldn't call it their first gen, but it's one of their first ones they put out. I think it has their first gen motherboard in it. At least from what I remember. Last time I had to check, it was their old one. Well, that's cool. That's what I wanted on my finger. I digress. So, just a general review. This machine is out of the box putting this thing together. The instructions are okay, but lacking in some areas. My recommendation is assemble on as level as the surface as possible. That way the machine actually squares up nicely when you put it together. Out of the box, everything was insanely well packaged. The only thing I had a problem with was this drive rod back here that takes care of these two belts. Mine was bent as hell. Absolutely bent to all hell. Don't know how. I think it was bent before it was even put in the box. I bought a few of them just because it's the size of rod that I use. So that's the only thing that really need to fix out of the box. I could have emailed them and I didn't. That's on me. But I went and did that. And when I went to assemble this machine, there is something I want to bring up. The quality of the hole drilling for the frame is just god-awful. They're in the right spots, but there's no deburring or anything done on half of the holes that are drilled. I don't know if you can see it like back here, but there's still burrs in this. Like none of this is deburred. Like it's something else. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that other than the hole drilling's a bit ugly, but I guess it is what it is. I originally picked this machine because it's all 3D printed parts and all of the feeders are driven by a servo motor, which I found really nice compared to the other PMPs on the market that I was looking at the time. So these consist of this is the AS2, which is their newer model for this printer, well, for this PMP. The spools and stuff like that are friction tighten for pulling your tape off. They have rubber O-rings it comes with. I replaced them with silicone. I put a link in the description. These silicone ones don't dry rot and they stay good, but you might need to stack a lot of them on here to get the friction that the rubber ones do. But the rubber ones, in my experience, where if you have a room like I do right here, this room gets over 100 degrees. This is a back porch turned into my workshop. It's a sunroom. I cannot run this machine during the day because it doesn't like the heat. It prefers colder things. You can hear a fan running right now because I'm running this and I need to keep air moving across the machine to keep the servo motors from overheating and killing themselves. That is something that happens with this machine. Since these are only little 9-gram servo motors in here. If you have a part that gets placed a lot, they're going to get toasty. Make sure you are 3D printing the main body of your feeders out of like PETG or something like that. But then make sure like these parts like this, try to use like matte PLA. Because PETG is a bit more slippery, and since this needs friction for the clutch, for the slip clutch in here to function, and you want some friction on this, you want some matte PLA, because PETG on top of PETG, it's just, you can't even put enough rubber bands on this to give it enough friction. You have to use matte PLA. Brand, it doesn't really matter. I always use Overture PLA, but that's just because like all of my web store products use that already. I already had it, so. Outside of that, I painted all my black because I have tons and tons of black plastic, but that required me on matter on the feeder. I had to get in here for paint marker and paint some of these yellow and paint some of them red and some of them even green, matter on what type of contrast is needed for the tape. Black tapes, any of the tapes that are like black, like my, you know, these are some transistors. They're on a black tape. So the under area underneath where the machine vision will see like the, you know, the little holes in the side of the tape. It can't see black on black. So if you printed this like some other color, like a high contrast color, like yellow, green, or like fluorescent green or something, it would probably be fine. But I did a black, and I had to play a lot with different colors for different things. I found yellow works great for black strips, and if you have see-through clear strips, like what it's on my USB-C ports, I normally find red worked better on those. But that's just the two colors it seems to like the most. It picks up on them easy enough. But yeah, outside of that, assembling these are super easy. It's a servo motor, one metal spring, and just 2 or 3 screws to get the actual ratcheting mechanism all attached to itself. It's really not that bad. They did send me new springs, so the spring design on the top of this one compared to what's on these ones here are different. They sent me a new design after emailing them, and it feeds better, but I still need to mess with the spring tension a little bit more. The springs, I am using PETG, clear PETG with 100% 100% end fill. I want them to be as stiff as possible because, yeah, if they don't grab and they slip, you're going to have like what the machine is right now, where it's doing nothing because it fails to properly pull this forward, which meant the feeder tape, the top cover of the tape, didn't get removed, so the machine couldn't pick up anything. Also, sometimes it just fails to reciprocate forward. I found, again, since my room gets extremely hot, these springs just stop being springy just because of how hot it gets in here, and these are a wear item I constantly have to replace. So I just keep a bunch of them already printed. If you're in an air-conditioned room or shop, I don't think this would be a problem with this machine. It's completely temperature related. In my case, try to have this somewhere air-conditioned. Don't run it in like a hot space like I do. Outside of that, this machine's been great. It's been very reliable. When it's running, it runs. I do have to sit here and babysit it, but that's because I'm on a time schedule, and I don't want to walk away for 2 hours and come back to it just been sitting here for 2 hours. So I babysit it the whole time it's running. I sit here and watch YouTube and do like other paperwork in this room, but I don't. I need stuff to get done when I'm running this machine. Outside of that, modifications out of the box, none, except for the fans. I've added Noctua fans here for this motor driver and to cool down this stepper motor. There's another Noctua fan on the back of the head here, blowing on the three stepper drives back there. Everything else doesn't really get too warm back here. The solenoids get a little bit warm, but the solenoids, they're solenoids. Solenoids get hot. But I put this fan back here on this. This is patched off the power of the board back here. There's a little buck regulator mounted back here to make this fan run, because it's a 12-volt fan. This one, I just routed an extra wire down onto the wire tray here. There's more than enough room next to the hose for it. You get another 12-volt little Noctua fan. And then I put a 12-volt Noctua fan right here on this stepper motor, because this one actually gets hot compared to the rest of them. This one actually gets hot because it's moving the whole gantry plus this rod. So it's moving everything. That one gets a little toasty. Nothing crazy, but I had these fans because I tore apart a bunch of my old 3D printers. So I put them to use instead of sitting in a box, because it's not like I'm going to use these teeny tiny fans or anything else. And then the only other fan I installed was one down here on the main motherboard. That's where the last stepper driver is. I put one there. And you can see I have the buck regulator here for the fans that are just wired in, and I haven't done anything with the wires because I've been lazy. So, from underneath, you can see this machine is pretty wide open. I have a lot of little catch trays for parts, and as you can see, there's a lot of parts, because every time you boot up this machine, the stepper motors reset position. Oh, no, sorry, all the servo motors reset position. So when it goes to grab, after first power up and things are all homed and everything, every single one of these is going to skip. The smaller parts are going to skip like 2 parts, 1 to 2 parts, for the first feed of the batch, and there's nothing you can do about it. So every time you start, it throws away it'll throw away one part. Nothing you're going to do about it. That goes through like my micro Moexes. I have the same problem. It just like throws away one of those parts, which is really annoying. Yeah. I really don't have much more to say other than it's the expensive trash bins of doing this type of work is what it creates. Just really expensive trash bins that you're not going to be damned to go through and try to hand place. You're going to put it inside the little, you know, your little SMD part bins, and that's only if you feel like sorting through all of them. So that's a thing, but I feel like most pick and place machines will have that problem anyway, especially any of them that are running OpenPMP. I don't think it's really a super big issue with this machine itself. I think it's just OpenPMP and how it operates, and I'm not a genius enough to go into the programming and try to fix it. So I'm just dealing with it by paying attention, not paying attention to it really. So otherwise, these feeders and stuff on this machine are really cool. They're really interesting. Personally, I very much so enjoy their modular design with the teeny tiny parts. I like the newer ones. So this is a big one. This was USB-C, but this servo motor needs to be bigger on these large 24 ones, especially for USB-Cs. They're heavy. They're just very heavy, and the servo motor just can't do it. But I like the reels. They look like little ammo drums, and they designed a slide here so when you print these, you can just line up and slide it on there, and with a single screw attach it, and you have the drum right on here. Or in the other thing, they have little wing parts that you can attach on the bottom instead to actually just put a normal reel on it, like a normal component reel. You know, the normal spools that you saw underneath there, these. On the subject of these and the little magazines is these white spools. These are great. These are fine. They work perfectly okay. You get into the blue ones. These do not fit on the machine. Worth of crap. They don't. It is what it is. It just these don't work well on the machine. That's all I really gotta say about it. I forget what part I picked out off my shelf because it's all organized by what feeder it goes into, so I'm just gonna set that down. Otherwise, this machine's really nice. I'll show you one of my struggles here. So this aired out because it couldn't read the feeder strip. I'm not going to screen record this. I'm sorry. I'm way too lazy to go into that production value. So I'm going to clear that, and I'm going to try to make this machine feed again. Oh, feeder invalid. That's another thing OpenPMP does. If it like decides that you suck. Sorry, that was a burp. If OpenPMP decides you suck, it won't repick the part. I won't even try to repick the part. So this is one of those things right now where I'm having to reach underneath the machine, manually pull the tape forward, try to tell it to run, and I think yep. Okay, so this is exactly a perfect thing for me to show off that really annoys me with this machine. Is the feeder is not actually feeding. So if I have the machine come over, see, it's just not, it does this. Like, I'm probably going to stop what I'm doing now, take out this feeder, and rebuild this if just a little spring swap doesn't work, because it's just, the teeth on here are either worn out, or it's just not enough down pressure to move the tape forward. The little teeth that the servo motors push back and forth are It's an elegant design. I really like how simple it is, but at the same time, the simplicity of it is also kind of its downfall when it comes to consistently always working. So inside the feeders, you have this little part here, and these two little nubbies right here are what actually pulls your tape forward, and they just wear down. This is another part that's internal of the feeders. Print these out of PETG. Do not use PLA plastic PETG. They stay sharper longer, they grab the tape a little bit better. That's my suggestion for this part. It's another PETG part. Again, like, I have little baggies of spare extra parts because of stuff like this. And again, I don't think it's the machine's fault. I think if I had air conditioning in this room, it would be perfectly fine. But I don't have air conditioning in here. And like I said, if the servo is being stressed, buy some extra ones on Amazon. I'll put these a link in the description as well. Keep some extra ones. You'll need it. You'll probably need it. So this is really annoying for me because oh yeah, by the way, it's freaking awesome how easy it is to take these out. So I use a Steam Deck because I don't like clicking buttons all the time with the mouse. It's an absolute pain. So I set up a Steam Deck here with a lot of the basic movement stuff set up on this machine for me with hotkeys. That is just because menuing is a pain and the Steam Deck allows me to hotkey stuff. But, yeah. This is what a normal loaded feeder looks like. What I'm going to do with this is off camera, because again, I don't know what's wrong with it and I don't feel like going that much in effort producing a video for this. I'm going to hook up a servo motor tester to this and see where it's slipping. Like I said, I think if I just replace a spring, it might just be fine, or the whole feeder might just be completely worn out. When I said about the heat, if I turn this around, this is one of the ones I haven't replaced yet. This is bulging. I don't know if you can see that. That is bulging out. That's because this is normal PLA plastic. And the heat from the servo motor actually is hot enough to start making the plastic soft and warping out where the high stress points are on it. Right behind this point, right on the other side of this, is the spring that helps the servo return before going back. And with the servo motor just getting hot enough, it starts warping this piece. Just does, sadly. When I assembled these, instead of using two-face tape, like they said to hold this wire in place, I just use a piece of electrical tape because the two-face tape just doesn't stick worth a crap. I'm sorry, it don't. Yeah, outside of that, it's nice because you can just slide these on and off. You can see it has a little pin here for the rail. And then you can see one right here. It has a little tie-down point for the feeders. They clamp down. There's a little latching mechanism underneath that you can use with a lever. I have these set up so I don't need to do and undo them. Just the pressure friction of me putting in and out is more than good enough, has been more than reliable than me actually having to reach underneath, find out what feeder it is, undo the lever to fully unlock it and stuff. That's just too much to ask for me. But I'm probably the laziest guy when it comes to me expecting a machine to do its job. I expect it to do its job easily, and I don't like being inconvenienced with little things like dabbling with levers to unlatch something. I can't be damned. They don't move around. They don't need to be hard locked. You can make it so they just slide on and off just with a little bit of friction, and they're not going to move when this machine's going. Speaking of this machine going, this is screwed to the table. And the tabletop is screwed to the shelf, and the shelving, well, this shelving here, this is screwed to the wall. If you want this machine to place things at full speed, that it can like go without throwing parts everywhere, you are going to have to mount this to the table. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It needs mounted down. It will throw itself off the table with the acceleration and deceleration this thing has. It doesn't seem like it would, but there's just enough weight on the top, especially when it's going forward and back. It will just shove itself off the table. Ask me how I know. Everything else is, I don't have much to complain about outside of like the fact where, again, like most of my problems are, I think it's just heat. Again, like I'm in a hot workroom. It is 85 back here right now, and it's the middle of the night where I live. And I run this thing at nighttime, so it's the only time this room cools down. So overall, this has been a great machine, but at the same time, I'm annoyed. I know it can do better, and I know it's probably 9% my fault that it's not doing better. Yeah, see, I'm just pushing down that spring there. I'm just pushing down that spring to see if it was the problem. Probably is. So when I pushed on it, it actually wanted to feed forward. Just going to throw this one away. Grab one out of my baggie of extras that I have. By white or clear PETG, doesn't matter what the spring colors are. I just went with translucent because I was trying to use it up early. It was old and I want to get rid of it. I have newer black stuff, but it doesn't really seem to matter if it's new or old. It's going to act how it's going to act. Okay, let's see. Feed it forward one more time. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to tell it to populate the other head because it didn't do it properly on either of them. So pick up that part. And now we're off to the races again. You can see I have it check every single part. I have it check the socket hole alignment for the actual pickup every single time. And I have it check both of them before it places down to double check the rotation of the part. You can disable both these if you think it's confident enough. It can just go grab a part and go immediately place it on the PCB. If you don't want to check it, but yeah, I recommend having it check it. Now, speaking of checking it, this is now talking about OpenPMP here. It caches all of these photos, like all of them. Now you can see it's not pulling the tape back consistently. It does that on these feeders. It'll probably air out here because it'll go over. But yeah, it caches all these. Make sure you have at least a terabyte hard drive. The little Intel NUC this machine's running on, again, I'll link that in the description just in case someone's curious about how the setup is. Only had a 212 gig SSD in it, an old one, and it filled all that up with machine vision samples for all this stuff. So I put a 1 terabyte in there and I'll see how long that goes. It does not take much. Now, for setup and stuff like that, I want to talk about these little nozzles here. These are all Samsung. They're about $40 a piece. When you're doing dry runs, don't have the nozzles in this machine. I had it air out one time and it took this nozzle, brought it over here and just ruined this feeder, ruined this feeder, ruined this feeder, snapped the nozzle in half, and it just bulldozed across the whole dang thing without re-zeroing the head for some reason. But then when I went to try to reproduce the result, it's never happened again. I don't know why it did it. It just decided to, and it did. It's just one of those things. There's the air out. There's the air out. So what'd it do this time? Okay, so this is the heat related issue I'm talking about, where it's throwing pieces because the springs are either too springy or not springy, and just the plastic on all these feeders is slightly warping because it's hot. It's very annoying. Also, a lot of times I find the first batch of stuff I do, I just gotta sit here and babysit it. If I sit here and do one panel and all the feeders get comfortable with feeding forward, which normally takes 2 or 3 feeds, the next batch will be so much faster than the first one. But you got to sit here and kind of make sure every single feeder, again, because when you boot it up, the servo motors go to this like weird default, they all just move and home, but it puts them off of like how many degrees are actually told to rotate previously. So all the known locations of all the feeders when you first boot this up is just out the window, and a lot of times it's not lined up correctly to reciprocate and actually pull the tape forward. Which again, why it cycles the feeder twice when it first uses it. Tuning wise, you can see I have screws here. I don't know what they suggest right now. I think they suggest, there used to be 1 screw on the AS1 feeders. That was different. The AS2 don't use that. It looks like it uses a bigger set screw. I couldn't be darned with set screws, because the set screws hide themselves underneath the plastic tape, and it's not a lot to just use these computer case screws and have the tape just slightly go around it. And being able to adjust the friction setting. The friction is so when it reciprocates back and forward, it's pushing the tape forward when it's pulling it forward, but when it goes back, it's not pulling the tape back with it. So it's really important to sit here and mess with those. And again, I'm finding temperature range wise, if it's a really cool night, so I've been back here when it's in the 30s. When it's a really cool night, I've had to loosen them because the top, the plastic shrunk. Compared to tonight where, it's kind of loose. I haven't had to mess with any of them yet, but I suspect as I run this machine for the next few hours, I'm going to have to probably tighten some of these screws. Outside of that, the machine itself is really solid. Again, all the problems I have with it, I feel like are just my problems because of the environment I'm working in. I don't really think there are too much machine problems. A lot of the programming stuff with OpenPMP has been, it's a lot of ChatGDP, me asking ChatGDP like, hey, this is the program, this is the Dropbox to the program, I'm trying to do this, can you tell me how to do this? It's a lot of that for setting it up. No matter what version you get, make sure you have a programmer, by the way. Firmware updates help a lot, because this has a G600 error where it tries to enable things and then it doesn't. Like it'll fail to enable the stepper, the servo motors. It'll just fail to enable them sometimes. Especially when you spam, like when you're having issues like this where I just reset it with the Steam Deck to run. If I had to make this feeder like try it before, like 3 or 4 times in a row, you get a G600 error and there's just nothing you can do about it. It's really stinking annoying, to be blatantly honest, like really annoying, but it is what it is. On larger parts where the servo motor needs to go forward a lot, especially on my mole axis, I think this needs to go forward like 4 times, no, 3 times. It needs to go 3 times forward, 3 reciprocations to bring the next part forward. I can only use 1 nozzle at a time because it's trying to get that servo motor to go so fast, it gets the G600 error and it just stops running. It's annoying as heck. So I have it only feed 1 nozzle at a time because it gives it a chance to do whatever OpenPMP wants. So it can actually go over, check that, place a part, and then start feeding the tape. Instead of it feeding the tape, the machine moving over to the next head, and then it's automatically feeding again, which seems to cause the error. Again, it's a lot less if you mitigate to have just 1 nozzle for large objects that need multiple forwarding to happen, but it is what it is. And right now this is a good point to talk about just weirdness with this machine. So right now I'm on parts that I don't know why. I've not had to mess with the feeder since I set them up. It's just the tape or the brands of the component. It's so well done and consistent. I've never had to fix some of these feeders, like ever. But other ones are just an absolute damn nightmare, and I don't know why. Again, it might be my environment, it might just be poor quality tapes, but I'm not buying any insanely stupid off-brand stuff. I'm getting all this like through LCSC and stuff like that, like, so I just don't know. It might just be the nature of open source pick and place machines. Considering this is the only one I've ran, because it was actually affordable for me to 3D print and assemble and use. So I think that's about enough ranting about this machine. I mean, overall, I like it. This has actually enabled me to, like, start, well, I've been running my MidnightTech for a few years now, but this, owning this machine has allowed me to make my own circuit boards and stuff, which, with the amount of components and parts and the weird middle ground value I have right now, also the difficulty getting bank loans where I live for this type of stuff, because I live so far in the middle of nowhere, I'd be better off buying a tractor than starting an electronics company. This has been much cheaper than me trying to pay a overseas circuit board manufacturer to make my circuit boards populated. Right now I get all my panels from PCBWay. They've been very consistent and great with just working and everything being where it should be every single time. I've probably went through over 300 panels on this machine so far. And it's only this panel. It's only the panel for my power pucks here. But I've went through just so many of them with this machine. This machine definitely has miles on it, and I have spent a lot of time on it. If I could get the feeders to be more consistent, especially the ones I actually have problems with, I would be the happiest man in the world. It's just going to be something that's going to take me more time to figure out what the hell's going on with them, or what's the difference between one that's working and one that just refuses to ever work right. Once I get that figured out, this machine is probably more than good enough. Once everything's like dialed in, that I should be able to walk away and let it do its job, come back in an hour and my panel's done. I'm hoping eventually I get to that point where this machine can do that for me. This is only one of those tapes now where it doesn't matter how many O-rings I put on the thing that reciprocates the ratcheting mechanism that pulls the tape off the top, the plastic off the top. It doesn't matter how many O-rings I've put on this feeder. This is feeder number 7 clear in the back right now. It doesn't matter how many O-rings I've put on that thing. It does not like pulling the tape off this tape. It just doesn't. Like this tape, it's so sticky on this component. I actually ordered a different brand of the same component for when this reel's empty, because it's just so damn sticky. It doesn't like peeling off. And I haven't been able to make it peel off in a good way either. I have my thumb here on the back of the feeder, and I'm just manually helping it actually pull the tape off. I have to do that for feeder number 3 as well. My 10K resistors are the same way. It's just super sticky for some reason. But yeah, my overall review of this machine is, I like it. The more you run it, the better it gets at its job. The more machine vision sampling OpenPMP builds up, the more efficient this machine is, and the less I've had to mess with it. At first, you're going to need to mess with it a lot until it gets a couple hundred samples of each part in the memory to compare against. You're going to be spending a lot of time just with the program, not really with the machine, but with the program. Getting the program actually recognizing the parts, the rotations, the pad sizes. You're going to spend more time messing with OpenPMP than what you are with this machine itself. And that's for sure. like I said, for OpenPMP, I set up profiles on my Steam Deck, and I'm going to be getting a larger Steam Deck with more buttons. That way I can control everything with physical buttons on the Steam Deck instead of on the computer screen. Because I want to treat this machine like a CNC machine where I have set buttons to do set operations on this. Like start job, stop job, re-level out things, jog it left to right, home the machine. Like, I want physical buttons for that, and not have to go through the menus that OpenPMP make you go through, because the menuing is just an absolute pain. See, it'll change the nozzles. It'll calibrate both the nozzles now. And then I forget what part it's going to go for next here. I think it might be the LEDs for the board. Yep. The LEDs are something I'm also changing brand on, because the tape is just horribly a pain in the neck. You can see it's not taking a picture to check where the tape position is on this feeder. That is because this tape is so damn reflective. I just can't get it to use the machine vision properly to get to the location every time and check the tape location. So I normally stand here and just camp it myself, and again nudge the tape forward with my thumb to make sure it goes the way I want it to go. See, it didn't feed forward, and I just forced it to feed. Now it fed fine. Again, a lot of this isn't even temperature with this right now, with this feeder. This is just the tape is horrible. Like, the component tape is just horrible. So, well, I've been rambling for almost an hour about this machine now. So, I'm going to end this video off here with this funny air. I love the machine. I don't know how I'd even give it a star rating because I have no other machine like this to compare it against. Assembly, construction of the feeders on that stuff. The fact you don't even need to buy the servo motors and screws off of them to make the feeders. You can just get on Amazon, buy them, and assemble it yourself. They give you enough information for that where you can just make your own dang feeders. But the fact their own feeders are very well built, it's just use PETG for the main body and PLA for other parts, and you'll be fine. Do keep track of what channels are which. You can see across the top here, I got red, blue, green, and then I forget what the other color I was going to use, but I haven't populated that side yet. The reason why they seem random numbers is because that's what channel they're on the interface board that these will plug into. That's what channel it is. So this will be channel blah blah blah, and these are the numbers. It's like 100, and then like this number, something like that in the programming. I'd have to look again, and vice versa. So I just label them for what channel they're setting on the machine in on. I just did that simply for ease of when we were programming which each feeder was and where the location was. It was just much easier to label the channel on top and color code them. It's just easier for us. And then when I put my my reel shelf up here, I'm doing the same thing where I'm numbering what extra reels I have up there and what feeders they go with. In case I have someone come over and they change parts for me, they don't necessarily know how to read. They can just look and be like, oh, blue 3, blue 3. But yeah, this machine's good. I'll probably make an update video when I have my thoughts more gathered with it, but overall, I'm very, very, very happy with the machine. It just, the problems I have with it are my own, I feel like. It's completely my fault, so. Outside of that, a successful 40-minute rant about the Panda Placer. I will see you all later, because I want to get this bright studio light off, because I'm getting bugs in my workroom now. So, bye-bye.